Hello and welcome back to the NAS Metal Productions channel YouTube, and welcome to another episode of Album of the Week. Of course, this is episode number 26. Now, of course, since I record these on Saturday, I so happen to record this on the day that Vinnie Paul had passed away, of course. Passed away, a couple of hours ago here, several. So, just waking up and all of a sudden just seeing the news, it's like just completely shocking. At the age, of course, of 54. Now, I've already reviewed two of Pantera's albums anyways, mostly I Am the Night and Power Metal, all a part of my US Power Metal Month from back in 2016. And again, I'd say two underrated albums, two though that definitely has retained some cult status, in that of course being Power Metal, and of course someone waking up and seeing someone actually commenting on that video, and I couldn't piece it together, but when going on the Facebook and seeing all the RIP posts, I now pretty much understand why. If you'd ever seen those reviews, I definitely am not a big Pantera fan. I do like mostly their first four albums, along with Cowboys from Hell. Basically just the first five. The rest after it usually is hit and miss. Some of it's just not my cup of tea. But, and I think if I had ever mentioned in any of those reviews, being the black sheep of the Pantera discography, being, of course, this sound that I'm spotlighting, which is Projects in the Jungle, I Am the Night, Metal Magic, Power Metal. They're definitely the black sheep of the band's discography. And how many times you actually have people that actually like them that want to see them reissue. And when Vinnie Paul was alive, he usually shot down any of those ideas, whatever. He's always any of the just whatever, he just shut those down due to anything he could come up with for them just being bootlegged every single time or so. Even though how many times the bootlegs get released and now being blacklisted on Discogs, and whenever you go to eBay or Amazon, they're usually jacked up to either $50. It's at least surprising I even came across decent pricings for any of the bootlegs for like Metal Magic and Power Metal. It's at least lucky enough. But whatever, even though I did disagree most of the time, I have to give respect to the guy. At least he was a pretty good drummer. I don't want to say decent. He was actually was a pretty good drummer. Definitely Power Metal being part of my favorite of some of his work. Real high energy. Definitely could keep a beat within the songs. And of course, even some of the stuff off of Cowboys from Hell, definitely Shatter comes to mind. But still, just shocking, just to find out. Of course, he's now, of course, both him and his brother, Dimebag Darrell, or during these eras that I'm reviewing as Diamond Darrell. Back in 2004, of course, dying at the age of 38 due to a crazed human being. And you can look at all that story. Everyone knows about some of this stuff, but if you're new, you can look it up yourself. I'm not going to reiterate that. But, of course, years later, now brother ends up passing away at the age of 54. Just definitely ages apart, but still quite, in a way, it's still quite of a low age. Didn't get to reach any of the age of either 60 or 70. Usually a lot of these rockers or some of these musicians end up passing away or almost as late as 60. But for him, he couldn't even make it that far. So really, it's a little sad and everything. But enough of all the all the mourning and everything. Let's actually get into some of this album. Project the Jungle, again, it's not an album that everyone wants to remember Pantera for, but for me, I've never reviewed this album anyway, only the two albums after it, being Iron the Night and Power Metal. But so, when looking for an album that actually spotlight, to kind of pay respects at least to this guy, I decided to choose this one since I never did, and I think that this is a decent enough album. It's definitely even more of a step up from its debut, which definitely to some was pretty immature sounding, but whatever. Sometimes you have to have a taste for at least something quite immature as Metal Magic, even if it's dumb. It's a dumb fun album for me. This one, it's still kind of the same thing, but there's definitely at least some things about the sound that actually starts to show some more maturity, and some of the guitar work definitely from a guitar player, of course, the late and brother of Vinnie Paul here, Daryl Abbott, or Dimebag Daryl, Diamond Daryl, whatever he wanted to go by. He was definitely showing, even though his Eddie Van Halen influence is still littered within a whole guitar playing and his whole performance. Still, but though it's a great mixture of Van Halen and Judas Priest, so all good stuff here. Makes me like the opening track, which has a real good sort of hooky riff pattern to it. Of course, Out for Blood, definitely pick up the speed. The title track, Killers, all freaking great tracks in my opinion. Even the infectious hooky riff of even Heavy Metal Rules is just great. And of course, it's a pretty good anthem for 1984 anyways, of that whole 80s heavy metal scene anyway. Is it definitely just pretty much, I think, fits that whole, it just fits that whole scene perfectly. Still, it's not completely mind-blowing of an album in terms of its musicality or everything, or its writing, but for anyone that just likes real fun and energetic, dumb albums like this, it's got some good, it has something at least to it that keeps it from being like your average sort of 1984 glam band, and it definitely is Pantera were one of the heavier acts of that sort of scene. They definitely were heavier than Rat at this time. We're definitely making things even heavier than what Motley Crue, and definitely it's more of a follow-up to what Motley Crue tried to do with fucking, I don't know, Girls, 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 or Theater of Pain. Come on, this is more worthy of a follow-up to Shout the Devil than what Theater of Pain was. Still, I'm probably babbling on quite a bit. I don't want to make this video too long. How long is this anyways? 9 minutes here. You know what? I'm going to stop it here. I think it's a criminally underrated album. Yeah, it's cheesy, but who doesn't like a couple of cheese here and there? And when it comes to even cheesy music, this is actually quite good, even to a lot of stuff that was getting pumped out back in 1984 in the mainstream. Bon Jovi comes to mind, even though I don't mind some of his stuff, but when it comes to at least metal, what was getting churned out in metal in terms of mainstream, besides some of your hardcore acts, but mostly just the real, I guess, wimpy kind of stuff, this is actually quite good for that. And it's actually a pretty damn good album when it comes to anything that was quite cheesy at this time that was being pumped out in the earliest stages still of MTV. So, besides leaving out good mainstream metal albums at the time, like Defenders of the Faith or Power Slave, or any of the stuff that's coming out on Metal Blade, but when it comes to any of the early sort of hair acts, besides Rat, Dokken, and early Motley Crue, this is actually quite good. So with that, it's good. And it's not their tough sort of groove metal image of later albums in the 1990s when they actually got to be mainstream, but it's still, take it or leave it. Still, it's my channel. I want to spotlight the sound because I at least find something good about it. But for those that want to hear any of the stuff like Cowboys from Hell or Far Beyond Driven or Vulgar Display of Power. This is definitely an album that isn't going to really, move those kind of mountains, but still, for those that do like this album, but also like the sort of cheesy kind of hair stuff that was coming out during the 1980s. This is actually a fun album. So with that, rest in peace, Vinnie Paul. Rest in peace, Dimebag Darrell. And who knows? Hopefully, someone actually does get some of the rights to actually reissue these albums just for the hell of it. So with that, hope you enjoy. And until then, this is Heavy Thrasher Sam out. And I'll see you later. Take care, everyone.